it's my birthday. Maybe. Hi, friends. It's Olivia. This is AV Club, where I talk about horror, literary fiction, weird books, whatever I want to talk about. And it is a very dreary, rainy day here today. But I have to film today because if you're watching this the day it's uploaded, it's my birthday. And I've gone on a train adventure to Sydney. It's like the longest train trip that I'll ever have been on, which I'm so excited about. That's actually all I've planned so far. And to most people that doesn't sound like a vacation, but the girls who get it get it. The public transportation girlies, I know you feel me. I'm so excited. So that's what I'm doing for my birthday. So I'll be gone on my actual birthday, and so I have to film rain or shine today. So the lighting isn't great, but we are going to do it. The birthday book tag was actually one that I found on a blog, and so I will link that below where I found the original tag. But it's just a couple questions because I wanted to celebrate my birthday on here because this community has become something that's meant a lot to me. Every subscriber, like, comment, they all really make my day feel a little bit more special. I've never been a huge birthday week, birthday month celebrator, never wanted to ask people to come to my party, but I will ask you to come to my party on BookTube. I think birthdays are fun as just a way to look back on the year and celebrate your own wins, successes, fails, growth. And one of my big successes has been being more consistent on BookTube, reading lots of good books, connecting with new people. I just really enjoy it. And when I looked at these questions, I saw that there were the opportunities to talk about books that I've never talked about on this channel before, and I'm really looking forward to doing it today. So without further ado, let's get into the 7 prompts of the birthday book tag. The first prompt is birthday cake, a book with a plot that seems cliche, but you love it anyway. And looking at the books that I love, they really don't have cliche plots, so I had to do some soul searching for this one, and I picked Writers and Lovers by Lily King. And I don't mean to say that this is a basic book in any way, but it kind of qualifies as being the most basic because of the Read with Jenna book club sticker on the cover. It does make it the winner for this category. Blindsided by her mother's sudden death and wrecked by a recent love affair, Casey Peabody has arrived in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the summer of 1997 without a plan. Her mail consists of wedding invitations, final notices from debt collectors. She was a former child golf prodigy, and now she is waiting tables and renting a tiny moldy room at the side of a garage where she's working on a novel that she's been writing for 6 years. The only thing that would really classify this as a cliche plot is that there is a kind of love triangle in here. Casey is bouncing between an older professor writer that she admires and then someone who is more age appropriate, edgier, but a lot less stable. So she's weighing the pros and cons of both of them, and that's what makes it cliche, but the way that it's handled in this is so beautiful and not cliche. The writing is just sumptuous. This is the perfect book if you just want to curl up on the couch with a really good character, a nourishing book, something that's thoughtful, but also transportative in a way, like the way that she writes Boston, Cambridge, just really transported me there in a way that made this feel like a little vacation, despite Casey not really having a very good time. But outstanding writing, I loved this book. It is like a yummy piece of birthday cake. The next prompt is Party Guest, your most anticipated book release this year. Recently in my mid-year book tag, I said a different answer than this, but that's because I did not know that there was new McLeod Chapman coming out this year because he's already had a book release this year. But this man simply cannot be stopped. He is going to release more stuff. It's also in like a million short story anthologies. Like, I don't understand where he gets the time. But now my most anticipated book release this year is Acquired Taste by McLeod Chapman, which is 25 short stories that run the spectrum of horror genre, including parenthood, COVID, politics. I really just trust him to come up with a lot of wild ideas. I haven't read any of his short stories. I've read one of his novellas. I just think he has a lot of really original ideas, and so I'm really looking forward to reading this collection. The next prompt is Birthday Presents, a book that surprised you with how much you love it. I've never talked about this book on the channel before, and I loved Machi Tawara's Salad Anniversary, which was translated by Juliet Winters Carpenter. And I was surprised at how much I love this because it's really poems about love. The poems cover new love, first heartaches, the end of an affair. And from memory, they're all written in a formal Tonka style. And so that consistent formal pattern with the one topic of love. It is kind of surprising that it was just such an outstanding collection for me, but it's like one of my favorite poetry collections that I've ever read. I will talk about the very best poetry collection I've ever read later in these prompts. And since it is Cancer season, I think that this is one of the most Cancerian books that you could read. It perfectly fits the mushy crybaby hearts that is inside every Cancerian. The next prompt is Happy Birthday Song, a book that certainly deserved all the hype it got. Now, the book that I picked is not a book that's received a lot of hype, but it deserved all the hype it got. I figured this out by looking at my 5-star reads on Goodreads and then sorting it by average rating and looking at what the highest one of that was to see what was considered the most hyped. And this book has a stunning 4.78 average rating, but with only 18 ratings. So it is very hyped by the people who have read it, but more people just need to read it. And that is The Sea Needs No Ornament, El Mar No Necesita Ornamento, a bilingual anthology of contemporary Caribbean poets. And I believe all of the authors in this poetry anthology are either women or genderqueer, and it was put out by Peepal Tree Press. This poetry anthology collects free verse, formal poems, experimental poems, and it's described as running a spectrum from exuberant to minimalist. I just remember being so stunned by the skill, the ideas of this poetry collection. It was truly all hits and no misses in like a 300-page poetry anthology. If you're interested in poetry at all, you have to read this anthology. It's so good and obviously loved by the people who read it, and you need to read it too. I think you'll love it. There's poems about love, the environment, politics. It really does talk about everything, and it does it all so well. The next prompt is Happy Music, a book with some very beautiful and truly memorable quotes. And happy music it is. I don't remember a lot of quotes from books, and so I just had to go with the one that has like one of my favorite quotes, and that's "No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering." And that is Clive Barker's The Hellbound Heart. This book is, of course, horrific and truly unimaginable horrors going on, but it's also so beautiful, gothic. It feels like it's about love. I think it really gets to the heart of the human condition. I read a lot of books with beautiful language, but I really just don't have a memory for quotes in that same way. And maybe that's something I need to work on. Is this something that y'all do? Do you have a diary of quotes somewhere? I highlight and underline while I'm writing sometimes, but I just don't really remember it later. I would love to hear what y'all's take on quotes are. The next prompt is Getting Older, a book that you read a long time ago, but you think you would appreciate more if you read it as a more mature reader. And for this, I looked back at my oldest read stuff on Goodreads. And of course, the first stuff is like stuff I read in high school. And there wasn't really even anything that I read in high school that I'm like, oh yeah, I really need to reread that now because I didn't get it at the time. A lot of the books that we read in high school were to teach about a certain point or historical period, etc. And one book that I was supposed to read in undergrad, but I didn't really complete, I kind of just bluffed my way through it, was Jane Eyre. That should be my answer for this, but I never even considered that I read it because it was a little iffy. And the same for Moby Dick in high school. Like the books that I just didn't even count that I actually read, the ones that I bluffed my way through. But one that I for sure read and I would like to reread is Sheridan LeFanu's Carmilla. I read this in 2016, really before I got back into reading, and definitely before I considered myself a primarily horror reader. I was in grad school at the time, and I just wasn't reading for fun. I had a lot of academic texts to read, which were science-based. I wasn't in a literature grad program. And I think I read this after watching Roya of R.G. Devilship. And this is a book that's about vampires, but I think was released even prior to Dracula. So it's really a very early on milestone for literature, as well as the fact that it includes lesbian vampires. Like, that's awesome that it's so old. And now that I've read so much stuff that references it or that is a retelling of it, like I'm reading Hungerstone by Kat Dunn currently, which is a retelling of it, I would like to actually revisit the source material and really be able to appreciate what it was doing at the time. And from what I remember, it was like a short book. so I don't think it would take that long, maybe for Halloween this year. And the last prompt is Sweet Birthday Memories, a book that kept you incredibly happy during a sad or demanding period of your life. And for this, I was thinking about when we first went into lockdown in 2020 and what a scary, demanding time that was emotionally. That was a time whenever Bookstagram was really still popping prior to Reels and you could find people and make community. It just doesn't happen as much anymore, unfortunately, now that hashtags are basically useless. But during that time, I was able to group read one of my favorite books ever with a group of great women from Australia. And that book is Cherry Beach by Laura McPhee-Browne. This is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read, and it is so full of longing and tenderness. It's about two young women, one who has kind of an unfortunate, terrible crush on her best friend, and just that longing, so full of yearning and Australiana. And I wanted nothing but to be in Australia with my partner at the time, but I was all alone in my house. And just being able to read this wonderful, beautiful, perfect book with these other women and having connection over something that we all loved and having that moment of togetherness. It was like right in the first weeks of lockdown. It's just so, so special. It was just such a special book and such a special opportunity. This is definitely a book that I want to reread at some point because it just touched my soul in a really special way and made me just so grateful for the author for sharing that honesty. So yeah, thanks for celebrating my birthday with me. The best birthday gift you could give me would be to talk to me down in the comments. Tell me about one of your favorite birthday memories. Answer one of these prompts. I think that these prompts are pretty good actually, that they made me talk about books that I don't usually talk about and memories that I don't usually talk about. But thank you so much for being here with me. I really do appreciate it. I love talking to people. I love talking about books. I love making community. So just, yeah, really thank you so much for being here. But I will talk to you again soon after I get back from Sydney. Bye, friends.